a pleasure, and I appreciate that we had some time as well over lunch to use a few moments for an informal chat. It's certainly very exciting to hear about your personal stories, but also about the stories of your businesses. And I'm sure the audience will be very much interested about your insights about Saudi Arabia specifically. And if you allow me, I would like to start with Mr. Hossam Qureshi with the first question. And I mean, who's been yesterday to the evening reception? They've seen the female or the woman in retail business reception going on. So of course, female empowerment is a very big topic at the moment. And also in the Vision 2030, women have been identified as a great asset to the country. With over 50% of university graduates being female, how do you think the retail industry will benefit from this socio-economic shift? And what challenges do you still see with that trend?
I think, first of all, I'd like to just express how grateful I am to be here. And we really hope that this panel is going to be as helpful as possible for everyone. Now, I think this topic of female empowerment in Saudi is no longer just something that is communicated as public relations or something just to polish up the image of the country. The country has taken some really serious steps to empower what I believe was an inert 50% part of the country. And I think as the country progresses towards empowering females, and I don't want to confine this empowerment by allowing women to drive and taking them more into the Air Force. I think that's just the tip of the iceberg. I think this is just taking us to the normal phase. Now, where I believe that the most of the value is going to come is when retailers start eliminating what I call, or what is called, a token employment approach. It's unfortunate and real that in Saudi, where female employment into sectors like retail is relatively new, females are still associated with certain positions in a company. So they say a female is suitable to take calls in a customer call center. They are suitable to work as cashiers. And there is this stigma that they are not yet prepared to be store managers, or they're not yet prepared to become commercial directors or marketing directors, but it's the exact opposite of that. And from personal experience, I remember hiring a young, fresh graduate female pharmacist back in Nahdi, and we've empowered her to the point that she is now leading a massive medical services program. Her name is Sarah Turkestan, and I'm so proud of her. And she was a shining example of someone that has gone through the different phases of development, and she literally outperformed many of her colleagues that have been in the company twice the time that she's been in. And now she's in a senior position, giving much, much more. And this is just an example of one. But I am seeing now, and a good amount of fresh air in the country there, where you have vice ministers now and acting in capacities as females. You have the Shura Council now with female members. And even in Panda, we just hired our first regional manager, female regional manager, and she's adding an incredible amount of value and creating a great sense of competition also with her peers. So I think this, the final thing I'd like to say also, something we did in Panda, our chief human resource officer is a female. So you can imagine when you have a strong, motivated female in that position, how she's going to drive the female agenda within the company. So I think it's time that we stop the token recruitment process. And you know, this is also going to have to come with a lot of government also support, you know, especially in the education system. Many of these girls, they graduate they lack even the basic skills of interpersonal skills like presentations, analysis, working effectively with teams, basic leadership qualities that are needed to succeed in the job. And that's why, as the private sector now is embracing them, we have management trainee programs. But these management trainee programs are a waste of time and resources for us. But we have to make that investment to overcome these obstacles.
I mean, that's some wonderful insights, and also leads me perfectly on to the next topic. Ahmed, we talked earlier about training and education, and I think also from your perspective, the Saudi Vision makes a big point about training and education and the lifelong training. So obviously your company employs more than 10,000 retail staff. How do you ensure a steady and consistent training of your staff? And since your business is focusing on the exceptional and unique experience in your stores, this must be obviously of critical importance to you. So how do you ensure the consistency in that?
Actually, it's a very important component of a part of our service, what we are providing to our consumer, to ensure the best service that's been given to the consumers is the training. Since almost 5 years, we have taken initiative since, and we enhanced it also even when the Vision 2030 came in place. So we saw that the country is offering more opportunities to the female, and we see that they can have even better positions within the company. So what we have created within the company is that there is an entry level for every leader in the business. What we do, we hire them on the bottom of the hierarchy in the company, and then gradually as they perform, they climb the ladder and become in better positions, you can say. So just recently we celebrated appointing a number of stores, female store managers and also duty managers. What happened after that also, some of those store managers became in the head office, you know, like to support the important positions in marketing department and procurement, which is very sensitive and to be considered in our business.
And I mean, in terms of business continuation as well, I mean, we're talking about a very big company that was founded in 1984, so there's a lot of history and heritage there. How do you ensure the consistency also for the future? Are you, for example, tapping local townships already to educate and train retail staff or the new generation of retail staff for your stores?
As you said, that we established in 1984, and now we are one of the largest retailers in Saudi Arabia. So Bin Dawood Group basically is a family business, and where the family was started with my grandfather and my father and my uncles. And what happened that we enhanced the systems within the company, implementing the corporate governance and using the right talents in the business. We invested heavily in the human resources as well, because it's the main component that we have. So setting the right goals and setting the right KPIs for the team and focusing on the results. And of course, the customer is the centric point of in everything what we do.
Okay, thank you for that. I mean, customer being the centric point is of course also very, very important in e-commerce, in the e-commerce industry. And we're very happy to have Mr. Faraz on board as well. You've also been the co-founder of the largest fashion destination, online fashion destination in the region, namely namshi.com. How do you see now namshi.com? Would that be a competition to your current business setup and your current business enterprise with noon.com? And how do you see competition in general in your industry? Is it other e-commerce platforms, or is it the traditional retail that would be seen as your competition?
Look, yeah, I mean, e-commerce is so small. It's at its infancy right now. We're less than 2% penetration in Saudi Arabia. So I feel like nothing is competition and everything is competition. We really feel like we're on day zero of e-commerce in the region. And I think there's so much that's going to happen over the next 5 to 10 years that one needs to focus more on the capabilities that you have as a platform and really invest in those, because those are long journeys. You have to build technology, you have to build logistics, operations, you have to build an assortment that is compelling. And I think instead of looking at what's around you, you have to look at what you have within your organization. And that's how we look at stuff at Noon. We really think that building a platform that deserves consumer choice is a long journey, and we're very focused on the inputs that go into it. And I really think that it's great that there are platforms in the region that are maturing, right? It's great that there's choice for the customer, because it'll help us bring more and more people online. When you say that 2% of retail is online, and you compare that with 25% in China, or you compare that with 10 to 15% across categories in North America, we've got so much room to the median e-commerce penetration in the developing and the developed world.
But does that go on the expense of the traditional retail, or would you say it's in complements to the traditional retail?
At some level, the customers are finding new ways to shop. So, I mean, for a family buying diapers, they're discovering new and exciting ways to buy diapers. And yes, I think at some level, the growth in e-commerce is some of that is shift from conventional retail. But as you see, a lot of the conventional retailers are also adopting omni-channel strategies. They're tying up with platforms like ours to actually reach this growing, burgeoning sort of customer base. So it's not so much the point of sale is changing. The source of the inventory, we hope, remains what it is, because the competitiveness of platforms like those represented by the gentleman on the stage, those are capabilities that have been built over decades, right? For an upstart like ours, we have no hope of sort of like, having the maturity and the sophistication that traditional retailers do, which is really where Noon is. We are a platform. Think of us as a technology company, a logistics company, a customer services company. We are that portal where the customer comes in and we connect them with the retail supply chain. And so yeah, we don't see that tension at all. We actually embrace that. We think working with traditional retail is the source of our biggest strength, really.
Okay, thank you very much for that. I mean, your two key markets in the region are UAE and Saudi. How do you think are these two markets different for you as a business CEO in the e-commerce sector?
Look, the two markets are somewhat similar in the levels of penetration we see in retail. But I think in terms of just the demographic mix of customers, very different. I mean, in Saudi Arabia, you've got a lot of demand in certain categories that is right up there with some of the highest sort of engagement levels in the world. So you see fashion e-commerce is actually very, very big in Saudi Arabia. You see general merchandise is not that developed. You see that most of the demand is fulfilled locally in Saudi Arabia, whereas in the UAE, people are shopping cross-border a lot more. So we think that the markets are different because the demographics are different. You just need to like go to the Wikipedia page on the demographic mix between the two countries, and you realize that Saudi Arabia is a far more local market. The UAE has the expat domination that you see, right? So there's diversity in the user base. You've got the South Asians, and you've got the local population, obviously, but you've got people from the Western hemisphere sort of here. And in Saudi, you see 80-90% of the population is locals. You need to, being from there and understanding the nuances of demand probably are a huge source of competitive advantage in Saudi.
I mean, regarding the local population, also in the Saudi vision, retail has been identified a very important sector. And it's in the last decade, it's already been producing annual growth rates beyond 10%. It also employs, a year ago, about 1.5 million workers in that sector, but only 0.3 million at that time were Saudi nationals. So Mr. Hossam, what do you think the Saudi Vision 2030 and the government aim to provide another 1 million job opportunities for Saudi nationals? How will that, or is that affecting the current retail landscape? Yeah. And the Saudization regulations, are they impacting on the actual cost of labor and also in terms of access to qualified staff and retention of qualified staff? Do you see any challenges that still need to be overcome?
Definitely, there are many challenges across the board in Saudization. First of all, Saudization is not a surprise for any retailer in Saudi. It has been a topic of discussion for the last, since the days of the late Minister of Labor, Qusaybi. And we knew it was coming sooner or later. And it was a matter of who was going to be the early adopter and who was going to embrace this as fast as possible. I believe, and I'm not being theoretical in this, I believe that Saudization can be a competitive advantage if done properly. Especially when you're talking about stores in provincial areas and small towns where the locals can be better perceived working in these stores than an expat. And I think the other element, especially in areas like grocery retail, we as retailers are the fastest, most reliable engines of job creation on this planet. This has been the case and all over the world. So retail is an excellent source of job creation. However, you don't want to squeeze and retail and punish retail with regulation that would stop it from growing and creating new job opportunities. The good news is that the government right now is having a dialogue with the retailers. We are having a dialogue, a very constructive dialogue. So the phasing of Saudization is happening fast, but it's happening also not all at once. So you're looking at different kinds of retail that can accommodate Saudis, but there are parts of retail that cannot. So some successful examples of Saudization was, for example, the Saudization of the shared economy transportation model, which is like the Uber and the Careem in Saudi. This has been a very successful Saudization model, and the quality of service you get from those Saudi drivers is just incredible. And it happened in very good phases with proper regulation. And I think a lot of ministries worked very, very well to have the right regulation and security needed. But there are some cases that weren't quite successful, like, for example, having Saudizations in the traditional trade of telecom, like mobile phone stores and accessories. So this is a market that almost 15 billion riyals evaporated just by the shutting down of these stores, and this was also in favor of my friends at Noon and other digital players. So I think Saudization is being tackled aggressively. I think that if Saudization is embraced by a retailer, I'll give you an example for Panda. Why didn't it significantly affect Panda? We have 3 legal entities. One is called Panda Retail. There's also Panda Services and Panda Logistics. Panda Retail has 42% Saudization, which has been the case for quite a long time. And this was a proactive effort by Panda and not a reactive effort. So it's something we've embraced early on. We were one of the first retailers in the country to hire Saudi female cashiers, and we faced a huge backlash back then, but now this is the norm. And we were also the first to hire Saudis with special needs. We have 400 special needs Saudis working inside these stores. We have almost 6,000 of the 22,000 employees we have nearly 6,000 Saudi employees working at Panda. And they are very well received by customers. And I think that there are 3 things that that a retailer can benefit from if he truly embraces Saudization. 1, you will get very good support from the government, because this is at the top of the government's agenda, considering the high unemployment rates we have in the country. 2nd, you're going to get the sympathy and compassion of the customers that are now very sensitive about Saudization, and they truly appreciate having Saudis. 3rd is, if you properly employ Saudis and you put them in the right places with the right training, they are an excellent source of knowledge, proper customer understanding. They know what the customers need, they know their pains, they know their language, they speak their accent, and especially if you have regional branches all over the country, these guys are ready and equipped, provided that they are properly prepared and enticed to work in retail, can be a great source of revenue for these companies.
But I understand the key in that again is the training and the retention of those qualified
that remains, to be honest, and I don't want to be theoretical. We don't have many qualified Saudis for retail yet, but you know they are coming. It's just a matter of time, and I think many of those young Saudis are no longer sitting on the high horse. They do realize that government job is not coming. That 6-hour job where you can work as a teacher or work in a ministry is not coming. You're going to have to get off that horse, get into the field, and really get your hands dirty if you want to succeed and live a very dignified life.
I think what is most important also is the feedback that you are getting from Saudi's employees. So it's the main component in the training and developing of the staff. Understanding the local culture and getting the right feedback helps a lot, and continuous improvement of the training and developing the, you can say, the Saudi employees.
Yeah. I mean, that's very interesting, especially what you mentioned earlier about retail being one of the biggest job creators. According to previous public announcement, Ahmed, you have said that Bin Dawood is continuing to open 10 stores every year. That's an impressive retail expansion. Did the subsidy cuts for Saudi nationals or the more stringent Saudization rules, and also the introduction of VAT, of 5% VAT last year, did that slow your expansion plans of physical stores?
Actually, what happened in the past 3 years, for every year we were opening 10 stores. So that was the record that we set for our company. And for 2019, we had 10 stores on the pipeline. 2 had to be dropped off. And the reason is that with the recent announcement of Vision 2013, lots of things within the economy has been changed. So the utility prices, increased cost of manpower and all that impacted the market a bit. And some of the real estate developers that we actually partnering with to open our stores, they didn't finish the project on time. So the new number is that so far we have is 8 stores this year, and inshallah we are going to open it. I think there is tremendous opportunity in Saudi. Even the latest studies been announced, which been published in December, were showing that the Saudi market will grow to, the retail market will grow to $119 billion, $190 billion worth of retail, the market size until the 2030. So it's going to be steady growth until we reach to that number.
I mean, you have a very interesting case within your own business. Rising e-commerce sales through the likes of noon.com has also put you in the position to also jump on that wagon. You've developed with your Danube online and Danube app platform the largest grocery online retail platform in the Middle East. How do you feel confident enough that people will continue to come to the physical stores at the end of the day with those rising sales and successful e-commerce stories?
Actually, we always have that debate, you know, like people, when they will come online, they will stop coming to stores. What we have seen that actually our number of customers coming to the stores is increasing, and even basket size is increasing, plus the online. What we have offered to our customers, when we started the online platform 2 years ago, when we started back then, it was only in English language, and it was a website base only. Then we built the app, and it's gaining more market share within the grocery department only. So today, proudly we can say that we are the largest online grocery app within the kingdom, and we are continuing of acquiring more market share and growing also. Still, we didn't open all the stores for the online, where customers actually can shop on the app, and then they can come and pick it up from any store. So still, we have a very ambitious growth plan there. The second part also, going to new cities where we still didn't start the online service. What we have seen from the customers actually, a very good response, and mostly it's top-ups for their groceries. What we are offering also in our stores actually is a different shopping experience. So whether it's from the layout perspective or seeing a new product that is available in the store, going and having that personal experience inside the store, we created with excitement. So still customers, we see them, you know, like they're coming to the store and also on the online.
For us, if I may ask you about partnerships,
Sure.
I mean, there's a very interesting story about how you entered the Saudi market with co-working spaces and local partnerships that is trying also to support startups, local startups. I mean, 1 year in to the launch of noon.com, you have partnerships with Al Shaya, with eBay, Al Ittihad, Etisalat. Will we see more of that in the future? And is your focus specifically on local partnerships or more global partnerships?
Yeah, so we see ourselves as a platform. We keep going back to this sort of anchor point around what is Noon. Noon is a platform, right? And we don't really sort of see ourselves as a retailer or a part of the retail supply chain. We see ourselves as a platform that allows local retailers, local traders to sort of access this growing user base and sell to them in an efficient way, right? So it includes, a key part of that is working with the largest sort of players in each segment in that retail sort of industry. And from the get-go, we've taken the approach that we will work with large retail platforms to take them online. They should see ourselves as an extension of their shopping windows. And yeah, of course, I mean, we spend a fair amount of our time working on these partnerships. We see them as core to who we are, and especially given where this market is going, this is an important point of differentiation for us as well, because retailers have built a footprint over decades in the region, and if we can tap into that physical infrastructure, if we can tap into those bases of inventory and plug it in with what we think is a world-class, best-in-class logistics and shop-front infrastructure, then I think that's a fair approach, and that's an approach that is one in places like China, for instance, right? And marketplaces should be transparent. We're only as good as our retail partners. So, I mean, I spend a vast majority of my time working on these partnerships, and I hope the list gets longer. And yes, we do think working with the local businesses is a responsibility that a company like Noon has. We are a Saudi internet company. We need to work with Saudi retailers. That's something that we take very seriously.
Maybe see a physical retail store of Noon.com at some point in the future?
Watch this space, yeah, we might surprise you.
Okay. Regarding e-commerce in general, Hossam, we know that fashion and lifestyle and also consumer electronics are the most popular sectors. Do you think traditional retailers in those segments are most affected by the rise of e-commerce? And what market segments are resilient against the growth in that segment and will always rely on the bricks and mortar stores?
We've seen different categories react to e-commerce differently. So over the last 5 years, we see that electronics are taking the majority of the e-commerce pie, followed by fashion, and that's very clear when you look at applications like Net-a-Porter, like the Amber program from Tayyar Group, and these are many of these platforms are used for makeup mainly, fashion, apparel to a big extent. But grocery retail was the latest adopter. Now, I cannot say that this is something for the future. It's here. It has arrived. And, you know, there are some applications that are gaining massive traction in grocery retail e-commerce. But I don't think it's going to be one or the other. It's not. It's basically the channels that a retailer has to operate now have to be what the true essence of omnichannel. An omnichannel is not saying you can buy from my store or you can buy from my website or my application. It's basically putting the customer in the center, having an efficient supply chain with live inventory reporting, a very solid infrastructure for analytics and data, having the right assortment provided very smartly for the customer, and having a personalized offering, which means that you would have a loyalty program, and having the customer's transactions in history, and also having a proper service model. And all of that combined is what the customer needs to see. So when I'm dealing with Panda, I'm not dealing with an app. I'm dealing with Panda as myself. So I have my transactions. They have some data about me where they can personalize the offering. I can have click and collect. I can have deliver to the home. I can have personalized offers. I can redeem my points. Within that ecosystem, there's a coalition program that offers you multiple benefits. So we're not talking here about the future. We're talking about something that has been in the market now for the last 5 to 7 years. And I don't think that this part of the world has adopted with the singularity that is really approaching us quite quickly. I do expect that over the next 6 years, by 2025, in value, around 5 or 6% of a retailer's sale will come from e-commerce in value, which is quite substantial, by the way. We're talking about something really, really massive here. I also expect that retailers are no longer going to stick to brick and mortar. And I think the ones that do not adopt to a multi-channel, omni-channel, customer-centric model are going to disappear and just get out of the game.
Ahmed, in regards to Saudi opening up in many ways, one part of the Saudi Vision 2030 focuses also on the promotion of the facilities for the visitors for the two holy mosques. The visitors have already tripled over the last decade to about 8 million visitors per year. And there's plans to increase capacity to welcome even 30 million by 2030. There's also new forms of tourism starting through new visa regulations, development of cultural sites, national reserves. When we all heard about projects like the Red Sea project or the city of Neom. What impact on your business are you planning with through that trend? And do you see through that trend an increased demand for certain product ranges, and as you earlier said, customer-specific requirements or organic aisles, concepts like the organic aisles in the supermarkets? What do you see happening through that to your business?
Actually, Bin Dawood Group started from Mecca. So back in 1984, the first store was in Mecca al-Mukarramah. And since then, we grow to all the cities of the Kingdom of Saudi Arabia. And yes, it's in our genesis that we serve the pilgrims and Hujjaj who are coming to Mecca and Medina. So we have also locations which is in front of the both two holy mosques in Mecca and Medina. We are the only supermarket servicing the pilgrims there, which is giving us an opportunity to serve them, which is we are proud of. We have also a good coverage in Mecca and Medina, not only in front of Holy Mosque, but the entire city. The future projects which is coming, such as Neom, for example, obviously it's very good opportunity for us, and we are looking to have stores in all these new projects. Definitely will give us a good opportunity to service the community there, or customers who are going to be living in that areas. And what we are looking in our retail also, it will help us implementing the new technologies, whether it's blockchain or artificial intelligence. And NEOM, it's all about this. So that is going to help us a lot. With the organic food and the new trends that is happening, for sure, it's what Danube is known for.
If I'm correctly informed, you were the first ones opening an fully organic bakery in Saudi Arabia.
Exactly. So the first organic bakery in Saudi Arabia was in Danube. And even the license that we got, it was like 501. So the first license actually that been produced by the Ministry of Agriculture was for us, where we have very high quality products. And not only that, even gluten-free products. We are almost the first bakery started within the kingdom, and servicing massive customers, like in demand for such products.
Thank you very much. I mean, before we open up the stage for some questions from the room, for us, one last question as well that piggybacks onto that. Innovation is obviously a big topic for any e-commerce platform. I mean, how do you see your contribution to the e-commerce market, which should grow to 48 billion by 2022? And what initiatives and innovations can we expect to deal with?
Look, we consider ourselves to be the front line of e-commerce in the region. We're still, like I said, very early days. I think there'll be a lot of cool stuff happening on the infrastructure side. So very recently we launched, very similar to the Uber and Careem model of enabling local Saudis to perform services, make an income on the side. We launched the freelance delivery program. So your noon packages come to you, are driven to you by people who are essentially, it's their second income, they're freelancing, they're doing it in their free time, and we see a lot of pickup on that. So you'll see
like Uber and Careem.
Yeah. You see sort of like a lot of sort of innovation on the last mile. So we believe that's exciting. We've seen Sama do very interesting things on the payment side. So you'll see for an economy that is so cash driven, we'll see a lot more, a lot of wallets kind of potentially coming in, and Noon actually has a play in that space as well. We think the way people pay each other and pay for services is going to dramatically change over the next 5 years. It has a lot of implications on retail, obviously. The way we think about our customer lifetime value, the way that we think about incentivizing customers to come back and stay with a network or a coalition. I think we think that is also going to be materially different from the way it is right now. And lastly, I think just ensure sort of quality of service and access to merchandise, especially in far-flung areas of Saudi Arabia. You'll see the friction go down. Right now, people are, if you live in a remote town of 10,000 people in Saudi, you're exposed to that one neighborhood mall, one city mall. Soon you'll see people shop from these giant warehouses that are sitting outside the largest cities. So I think just access is going to be a major driver of change as well. So those three.
Thanks for that insight. I see we don't have much time left, but I hope we can squeeze 1 or 2 questions in. From the gentleman here, please, maybe. Can we get him a microphone? I saw you as well.
Yeah, hi. My name is Wael Belkhair. Actually, I enjoyed the panel, but I see some topic which is missing here regarding the nationalization, and which is the part-time. And you know, this is a very important formula to help succeed on the nationalization. Elsewhere in the world, the retail workforce, the majority of them came from the part-time. And I know that the government have legalized and organized this and allow it. I know this because I was on the committee, nationalization committee in Jeddah Chamber. And we found that there is not much effort from the retailers, from what I see, and also from the universities to educate students that this system is available. And with the increasing of demand for the workforce, as Patrick mentioned, with the mega project coming, there is more demand for the force. That's more, of course, more demand for people to come, especially from the part-time. I want to ask Mr. Ahmed and Engineer Hussam, what's the effort being done in this subject? Thank you.
Actually, what we have done in our stores, Bin Dawood and Danube, I mean, normally when you go for the part-time jobs and all that, this is considered to be seasonality jobs. And we actually hire young Saudis, students who are coming and helping the pilgrims also. So either they are volunteering or they are having, you know, like a part-time job in our stores. And that is especially happening during Ramadan and Hajj period. So we are taking such steps, but financially it doesn't make sense for me to hire part-time when, you know, like the business is steady. But yes, once you have the spikes in the business and all that, there where exactly we need to hire those part-time jobs. And of course, it's a new thing that is happening now. And I think it will take time until the people realize, you know, like when that this option is available for them and they can avail it.
I think first of all, definitely we are nowhere where we should be. I have to agree with you. I think for multiple reasons. However, I'll tell you something we've done in Panda, and how can this probably be scaled up. During Ramadan, you know, the Ramadan season is like our version of Christmas for the West. It's where you have the biggest flux of customers coming into the stores, and the manpower available could never suffice for the amount of traffic that comes into the store during these times. So we have a program called Helping Hands, which is open only for students between the ages of 17 and 24, 25, and we actually get them to work with us for a period of 6 weeks for a very nice pay. We also have, during the back-to-school season as well, and it's just like Ahmed said, we also have seasonal, I would say, volunteering and training and part-time drives as well, so we can bring them in. And this is probably the best way to get them interested in the sector. Now, could we make it bigger? Definitely, yes. I wholeheartedly think that we can. And we will be ramping up our marketing efforts and announcing these seasonal jobs for people to come in. But we're also not confining it to the stores. We also have a training program and a volunteer program also in the commercial side of the business. So you can work like a buyer for a period of time in the commercial department, in the operation and supply chain, in the warehouse, in the dispatch. So we are extending it definitely beyond what it currently does, because I think we as retailers can definitely drive interest by opening these opportunities. So I would agree with you.
I think to your point also, what we have done with in our stores, we cooperated with some schools and universities as well.
Yeah.
So showing them, you know, like what is a supermarket or retail looks like, what sort of jobs we have, and not to think only, you know, like you have very limited places to go for.
Exactly.
So this is a part of our, I mean, like what we need to do for the society, and it's a part of our corporate responsibility.
You know, one of the unfortunate perceptions about retail, they think that retail is that box. They don't know what's behind the box, the science behind the box, the data behind the box, the supply chain, the logistics, the fleets, the mapping, the incredible amount of complexity needed to support that box. And I think that's the role we're playing now with these universities to really put some more light on retail for better understanding.
I hope that answered the questions very well. Am I allowed to squeeze in another question? I know the time has already elapsed. Just waiting for a quick thumbs up. Is that okay? Yes? Okay, I think you put your hand up earlier as well, the gentleman over there. If we can get him a mic, please.
Yes, thank you very much. I just want to correct some information and add some insights about the market.
Thank you.
I think we talk a lot about manpower and resources, but I want to say that what is about the consumer behavior, especially in the remote areas that they mentioned. In our experience, I'm from the company called Channels. We are serving almost 18 to 20 million retail customers a year inside Saudi Arabia in almost 125 cities. And we have also the online portal. And what we are saying that in these remote cities, there is a huge penetration for the online, but there is, I think, huge opportunity for any logistic and last mile delivery technology in our market, because it's still it's virgin area. So I think this is good to know for all retailers here. We have huge opportunity for online and penetration there. The second, that's for the mobile shop experience for Saudization and regularization. We think it was very successful. I was part of Saudi Telecom. We trained almost 30,000 employees, and this lead for making the market more organized for Samsung, for Apple, and Huawei, and that's what led them to grow in the past 3 years instead of the gray market. So my comment was for the grocery stores, why we see Saudi brands going globally? We saw how we see how Bin Dawood work with Danube, or Giant also with Fawaz, and Banda with the Giant store also, but we didn't see them go abroad.
Sorry, I didn't hear that last point.
Why we didn't see grocery stores going outside the kingdom?
Grocery stores outside the kingdom?
Yeah.
Okay.
What is the limitation that they are facing?
To whom is the question directed?
Panda has presence in Egypt, by the way. We have an operations in Egypt, and until recently there was an operation in the UAE. But the thing about international expansion, if you're talking more about the modern trade model, I think it's a matter of very few years, and you will start seeing many modern retailers go beyond Saudi. I think the thing about going beyond is that you need to have a very competitive and differentiated retail model to go against the Carrefours and the Tesco's and the Wegmans and the Aldis of the world. Because these are organizations with thousands of branches. They have standard procedures, and they've been in the market much longer than many Saudi chains. The level of sophistication and data that they have acquired over the years, because of their scale and because of their distribution, significantly outweighs what we have in Saudi. But that doesn't mean that we're not getting there. I can give you a couple of examples of many retailers in Saudi, not in grocery, that are ready to go beyond the borders of Saudi. Especially pharmacy, fashion, food. We have a few examples that are ready to go out. But I think in grocery retail, I speak on behalf of probably Panda, when we went out of Saudi, we realized that scale is a very important factor. When you go into a market like Egypt with 100 million customers, but then you have a competitor that exists all over Europe and has very strong regional presence, the deals they will get from the manufacturers are much better, the rebates they will get are much stronger, the offers that you will get are much... So it's not just going there, it's also having the right to win with the right proposition and the right model and the right differentiating things that will allow you to offset these challenges that you face when you cross the borders of Saudi.
Adding to what you said, also commenting on your first phase of the comment, yes, there's tremendous opportunities in Saudi, but previously what was happening, the government was not fast as what they are today. So actually today, the challenge that the private sector is facing, that the government is moving faster than the private companies.
Which is good.
Which is very good, of course, and lots of opportunities opening up for the businesses.
Yeah.
And hopefully we will see that coming and be resolved. Issues like logistics and all that. Why we are not on the international level yet? By the way, Bin Dawood and Danube both are Saudi local brands. The reason for that we still didn't penetrate all the cities within Saudi Arabia. So actually we decided to grow within Saudi Arabia. First, we have a very good grip on the market. Then we will expand regionally. And what happened since Saudi joined the World Trade Organization, opened up the market of retail for the international companies, you can see that the competition and the arrival of international companies enabled us to compete and to have better position today.
Absolutely.
So whether it's Panda or Bin Dawood and Danube, fully 100% Saudi brands, and today we are very good position and defeated also the international competition that came to the market.
I've been told that we need to wrap up. I know we probably only just scratched the surface of these discussion topics. I'm sure we could go on for much longer with such exciting news. There's certainly much more that we can expect in Saudi to happen in the future and to come out of Saudi Arabia. So I hope you all had an interesting insight. And I would ask you for a round of applause for our distinguished panelists. Thank you very much.